Thank you, Maddie. Everybody give a big round of applause to Maddie for showing up here with like 10 hours notice.
Maybe not for last week.
Well, that was not your fault. That was his fault. I also want to thank everybody else for coming here today. I apologize for the last minute change of plans, but I didn't think anybody wanted to be outside in the cold rain, so we're going to switch it up a bit. Welcome to Channing Unitarian Universalist Church. We're glad you joined us for worship today. Whoever you are, whatever your theological, spiritual, political, sexual, or racial orientation or gender identity, you are welcome to worship here and become part of this community. Now, I apologize. It is the time of year where I have a million announcements. I have tried to hold back all year, but it's time. The church year is coming to a close kind of quickly. I know that seems crazy because it's April, but it's like the end of April. And we are trying to wrap up our pledges for next year so that we can budget, so that we can present a budget to all of you at the annual meeting, which is in the middle of May. So we got a lot to cram in real quick. For those of you who have not been through the pledging process, members and friends are welcome to pledge. You don't have to be a member of Channing Church to pledge. You also do not have to pledge to be a member of Channing Church. Although we appreciate it when you pledge because it allows us to plan financially for some income. Pledges account for only 30% of our annual revenue, which makes sense because we're not particularly large, but we really do rely on the monetary contributions of our members and guests throughout the year to continue to operate. So I sent out a link to an online pledge form. There's also paper forms in the foyer. If you could please fill them out and return them to Lauren by the end of the month, that will help us a lot. Speaking of members and guests, if anybody here has been attending regularly for a while and you feel like Channing Church is the right spiritual home for you and you wish to sign our membership book, we would love that. If you aren't there yet, absolutely no pressure. There is no obligation to ever join as a full member of this church. Enjoy 90% of the benefits of our community, not a member, but that remaining 10% is kind of a big one. Only members can vote on operational decisions at our annual meeting. So if you want to have a say in how we run things, we are self-governing. We're very big on the democratic process. If you want to participate in the decision-making process, you have to be a member to do that. So if that is important to you, please talk to me, or you can talk to Rick, or you can talk to Mike. You probably talk to any member of the church and it will get back to me eventually. But if you would like to sign the membership book, we would like to do that before the annual meeting so that new members can vote in the annual meeting. If you have questions about Channing Church and being a member here and how all of that works and what is expected of you, please talk to me or Rick or Mike or any of the members of the church. It's very low pressure. We really don't have any expectations other than that you participate in whatever way you are willing and able. Speaking of the annual meeting, we pushed that back a couple of weeks for a number of reasons, but it is now scheduled for Sunday, May 17th at 11:30 a.m. here in the sanctuary. So we'll have a short coffee hour. We'll have a coffee half hour that day, and then we'll come in here. Typically, the way it works is members sit on one side of the sanctuary. Non-members who would like to sit in and listen and learn how the annual meeting goes sit on the other side. That makes tallying votes a little bit easier. But anybody is welcome to come and listen and participate in whatever way they are able. At the annual meeting, we hear reports from all the different committees on how things have been going this year and what our plans are for next year, and we vote to accept those reports. We also vote on a new budget. So I'm the treasurer. I will propose a budget to Prudential. They'll approve it to present to the congregation, and you all will review it and ask your questions and redline it and mark it up and yell at me about what you think is appropriate and not, and then we will approve a budget. We are also hoping to have some updated bylaws to approve. And most importantly, we have a couple of openings in our slate of officers. First, we do not have a clerk, and we have not had a clerk all year, and it is becoming a bit of an issue. It's the clerk's responsibility to post the warrant for the annual meeting, and since we didn't have a clerk keeping track of that, we realized we missed the deadline to post it. That's why we had to push the annual meeting back. So as you can see, we need a clerk, so please consider that. It is not a very challenging job. The clerk just has to call meetings, post the warrant, keep records of like child dedications and weddings and things like that. It's not a heavy lift. We do ask that you have a certain level of computer literacy though, because all of our record keeping is now computerized. The other opening is assistant treasurer. Lauren has been serving in this role for about a decade, and she has done an excellent job, and she is ready to retire. So everybody, big thank you to Lauren for serving in that role for so long. The assistant treasurer is basically accounts receivable. That position is supposed to take all of the income, all of the plates and pledges, any checks mailed in, log them, categorize them in our bookkeeping software, deposit them at the bank. The assistant treasurer is also the person who tracks pledges and collects pledges from people and tells people where they're at with their pledging. Lauren said that she is more than willing to help the incoming assistant treasurer learn how things work. Again, the only qualification is that you have a certain level of computer literacy, and maybe some basic arithmetic skills would probably be helpful. So if you are interested in learning more about the assistant treasurer or clerk positions, please talk to me or Mike or Lauren or any member of the Prudential Committee or any of the officers, and we are happy to answer your questions. I think I'm done now. Does anybody else have any announcements? Yes.
We have the monthly potluck on Tuesdays. Don't forget.
Don't forget. There's details in your insert. Deb and Aaron?
I'll go first. On Easter, our children started a drive for some charities to donate to. So if you want to help support that, there's some water trucks in the back. We're donating to the American Red Cross, the David Humane Society, and Boston Children's Hospital. So if you'd like to help support that, there's a donation jar.
Great, thank you. Deb?
Yeah, I'm walking a little late, so I don't know if we said anything about the yard sale.
Nope, I was leaving it to you.
So thank you to everybody that turned out and helped in any way you did. The help is always appreciated. And for a total that we came up with yesterday was $1,253.
That's amazing. Great job, everybody. Despite the rain, it was a great day. Any other announcements? Yes.
We have our annual plant sale coming up in May 16th. Mark your calendar, it's a Saturday. Don't let that deter you from coming in the following Sunday for the annual meeting.
Yes.
I know it's a lot of work, and speaking of a lot of work, I don't think it's, well, I should say, it's pretty hard to match the dedication and the work that everybody put in for the yard sale. It's really good.
Thank you, Paul. I can't wait. Already people were asking at the yard sale when the plant sale was. So it's going to be a good year.
I actually have an announcement.
Yes.
Someone had a Kia sedan, gray Kia sedan, and the window was cracked. If it starts raining during the service, you're gonna have a really clean car afterward.
Yeah. So if you own the gray Kia, you might want to roll up your window. Doesn't look like it's ours. Okay. Last call for announcements, then we can move on. All right. So again, I appreciate everyone being flexible and coming in for a regular service. Fortunately, I did this one in Weymouth, so I had it in my pocket for a rainy day, and that worked out well. It's called Living Prophets for a Living Tradition. One of my favorite things about Unitarian Universalism is that we seek out prophetic voices from a variety of religious traditions and philosophies that use the tapestry of wisdom to weave our own individual spiritual ethos, each unique, but each made from common threads. I worry, though, that when we seek prophetic teachings to inspire our spiritual journeys, we often fall back on the same ones: Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, the Buddha, and others like them. They are all men. They are all long dead. But Unitarian Universalism is a living tradition. Shouldn't we seek out living prophets for wisdom that applies to our modern world? When I reflect on the inspirational people who are living right now and spreading their messages directly to us about issues that are unique to our time, there are three people in particular that come to my mind. Three women, actually: Robin Wall Kimmerer, Malala Yousafzai, and Greta Thunberg. Each of these women come from different cultural backgrounds, practice different religions, and advocate for different issues. But are their messages really so different from the universal truths or wisdom that we have heard in ages before? Why is it so important that we let their lights shine in the darkness of this world when there are already so many prophets among our ancestors already? Before we dig deeper, though, we have to shine our own light by lighting the chalice and our candles of joy and concern. Jaden, do you want to light the chalice this morning? Please stand as you are willing and able and recite the chalice lighting words in your order of service while Jaden gets to play with fire. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you, Jaden. And now our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine, Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please join us in singing our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. I can hear my child in the other room. We human beings don't realize how great God is. He has given us an extraordinary brain and a sensitive, loving heart. He has blessed us with 2 lips to talk and express our feelings, 2 eyes which see a world of colors and beauty, 2 feet which walk on the road of life, 2 hands to work for us, and 2 ears to hear the words of love. Malala Yousafzai. Let us now listen with love as we share our joys and concerns with each other. Dottie? Rick, you want to help Dot so she doesn't set fire to the place? Does anybody wish to share a joy or concern? Maggie, you can go help too. Good. Maddie?
I was able to do some yard cleanup and gardening yesterday.
Fantastic.
And I'm very sore, but I feel very lucky that I was able to.
Mike?
I want like candle of thanks for, again, the yard and bake selling for things, and again, the volunteers, and especially for Debbie and Aaron, who were here, I think, every day, and they even slept here. They were here every day, my combined. So that was really amazing effort.
Diane?
Well, I came from my mom. She's been having issues with respiratory health and her heart. She's been in and out of the hospital.
Deb?
Yeah, I'd like to light a candle for, Donna Berry, as she'll be celebrating, Bill's life as the last year of marriage.
Yes.
I'd like to light a candle for friends, 2 candles. If possible.
Sure.
A candle for some friends who are suffering a heavy loss right now, and others, the other candle for my friends in recovery.
Any final candles? Yes.
I'd like to have a second candle for abundance, please.
Do you want to
like
give
to-
the
I'd like
kids
to-
have any candles they want to light? Do you want to light one for what we're going to do today? No.
I'd like to light a candle of concern for some of the sounds coming from that other room. And whoever is with them right now.
All right, Maggie, go ahead. You want to light one for the special trip we're going to do after this? Where are we going?
Boston.
We're going to Boston to see Wild Kratts live. Are there any other candles? All right, why don't you light one more for any joys and concerns that people are carrying silently? I don't have it in the order of service, but we will sing the children out now because they're going to be very bored if they stay in here. Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving the gifts with open eyes and open heart. Robin Wall Kimmerer. Please join me in singing Spirit of Life, hymn number 123. You can sit this time if you want. I'll give you all a break. Speaking of receiving gifts, it is now time to collect an offering. The money that we collect during the offering is very simply what we use to pay for our bills. So we really appreciate everybody's contributions.
I got a new Irish whistle, so I can bring it.
Please stand as you're willing and able and join us in singing Spirit of Truth. Thank you. Please be seated. I'm not going to get too into the weeds about the messages of each of the living prophets that I want to talk about is trying to convey. That's not really what this service is about, although I do encourage you all to read their books and speeches and learn about the causes they are championing because they are vitally important. I will give you a little background on each one and highlight a few of their most important messages, in my opinion anyway. But what I really want to drive home today is why. Why it is important that we seek out prophetic inspiration from the people who are alive today, facing the same worldly problems that we are, have had many of the same general experiences that we have had. The first is Robin Wall Kimmerer, a botanist. She is indigenous, a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. In her career, she combines the scientific study of plants with the spiritual influences of many indigenous peoples as a way to advocate for a better relationship between humans and non-human life, reminding us that we are part of nature and that our relationship with the world is not that of stewards, but of reciprocity. In one of her books, Braiding Sweetgrass, she says, in some native languages, the term for plants translates to those who take care of us. From a UU perspective, her messages embody many of our shared UU values: generosity, transformation, interdependence, and pluralism. For generosity, she reminds us of the endless generosity of our Mother Earth. She continues to provide for our needs, regardless of whether or not we deserve it. She writes, "Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift." For transformation, we know that we have harmed our planet, and we know we need to fix it. We know we need to change our way of life, our economic structures, and our cultural values in order to accomplish what we need to accomplish. But we don't have to make those societal changes first and then do the work to solve our environmental problems. As we implement solutions, our lives and perspectives will change as we go. Again, from her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, she says, "Action on behalf of life transforms, because the relationship between self and the world is reciprocal. It is not a question of first getting enlightened or saved and then acting. As we work to heal the earth heals us. For interdependence, I think that there is this belief that people have that if all humans were to suddenly disappear from the planet, the earth would be just fine without us. But I don't think this is true. Robin points out that all life on earth is interdependent. All life. That includes us. Just as we rely on the gifts of the land, other creatures rely on us too. The problem isn't that we are here and our presence is destroying the planet. Our problem is that we've forgotten we're part of the system and that we have to give our gifts to the earth as well, because she needs us as much as we need her. This lesson I learned from Robin Wall Kimmerer's words in her newer book, The Serviceberry, which admittedly I have not read in its entirety, but I'm working on it. In the traditional Anishinaabe economy, the land is the source of all goods and services, which are distributed in a kind of gift exchange. One life is given in support of another. The focus is on supporting the good of the people, not only an individual. Receiving a gift from the land is coupled to attached responsibilities of sharing, respect, reciprocity, and gratitude, of which you will be reminded. Sorry, I keep dinging. I'm going to shut that off. Apologies. To continue the quote, this kind of gratitude is so much more than a polite thank you, not an automatic ritual of manners, but a recognition of indebtedness that can stop you in your tracks. It brings you to the realization that your life is nurtured from the body of Mother Earth. One of our UU principles is pluralism, and I know when we talk about pluralism, it usually means religious and cultural pluralism, that viewpoints, religious beliefs, and cultural practices held among different people allow for us to share insights and wisdom. But Robin expands on that. Pluralism also encompasses the wisdom held in all life. What can we learn from the trees? What can we learn from birds who migrate seasonally? Or from fish who must swim upstream to spawn? The humble life of a tardigrade, who, despite their microscopic size, can survive almost any condition. If we look at all life on Earth as teachers and relearn the lessons we've forgotten, or find new lessons through creative listening and observation. Robin says in Braiding Sweetgrass, we Americans are reluctant to learn a foreign language of our own species, let alone another species. But imagine the possibilities. Imagine the access we would have to different perspectives, the things we might see through others' eyes, the wisdom that surrounds us. We don't have to figure out everything by ourselves. There are intelligences other than our own, teachers all around us. Imagine how much less lonely the world would be. Robin Wall Kimmerer's messages are not necessarily new. Much of what she has to say comes from the teachings of her ancestors before Western colonization erased the languages, customs, and beliefs of First Nations people. She is trying to breathe new life into her inherited culture and knowledge by sharing it with non-Native people in a way that is accessible through our own cultural lens. Her background in biology is helpful with that, as is her poetic style of writing. She is not just trying to reclaim a way of life that was stolen from her people, but is actively trying to integrate that knowledge into the rest of society so that real healing can begin. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend reading Braiding Sweetgrass, although I will warn you, it can make you deeply sad, but it is also full of a lot of hope and uplifting messages. The second living prophet I want to talk about is Malala Yousafzai. She grew up in a region of Pakistan where women were not educated. Her father was progressive and believed in educational equality. He raised his daughter differently than most in their community. He wanted her to be as educated, independent, and free-thinking as any man would be. He ran 3 schools in their community, one of which was for girls, which Malala attended. Growing up with access to education and encouragement from her family to think critically, she very quickly realized that there were a lot of inequities and injustices in her society and wanted to inspire change so more young women could have similar opportunities as herself. But as a young teenager, the Taliban spread its influence into Pakistan and gained more and more control over her city. Malala began to speak out against the Taliban's authoritarian ways and advocated loudly for girls' and women's rights to education. When she was 15 years old, a member of the Taliban boarded her school bus and shot her in the head in front of her friends. Fortunately, she survived. This only emboldened Malala to speak out more. Her teachings are a combination of her activism and her Muslim upbringing. She is the youngest Nobel laureate in history, winning the Nobel Peace Prize when she was 17 years old. Currently, she is 22. When I read her speeches in her book, I Am Malala, I connect her words to the UU values of equity and justice. Equity. A quote from Malala: "Education is our basic right, not just in the West. Islam too has given us this right. Islam says every girl and every boy should go to school. In the Quran, it is written, God wants us to have knowledge. He wants us to know why the sky is blue and about oceans and stars. I know it's a big struggle. Around the world, there are 57 million children who are not in primary school. 32 million of them are girls." It's hard for us here in America to imagine a girl almost losing her life and certainly losing her childhood in the pursuit of education for women. Here in the United States, it's a given. Boys and girls are educated. Period. It's our right. We forget, though, that we can lose rights. We've seen it happen recently. We are watching in horror as the scope of our rights narrows or disappears completely. Education is certainly under threat here in America, and gender inequality is on the rise. Malala points out that the inequities in her community left them vulnerable to terrorism, which in turn led to more inequities. Regarding justice, she quotes, "President Barack Obama and his family, I was respectful, I believe, but I told him I did not like his drone strikes on Pakistan, that when they kill one bad person, innocent people are killed too, and terrorism spreads more. I also told him that if America spent less money on weapons and war and more on education, the world would be a better place. If God has given you a voice, I decided, you must use it, even if it is to disagree with the President of the United States." She actually said those words to his face, and he accepted them with grace because that's the kind of person he is. But Malala's message is that justice is not about retribution. If someone harms you, it is not just to harm them back. It is justice when you provide for an unmet need and reverse the underlying cause of the harm that was perpetrated. In today's context, that means waging less war and focusing more on educating people, providing them a path to success, feeding them, housing them, providing health care. Greta Thunberg is from Sweden. She became famous for her activism around climate change. She was also a teenager when she began to speak in front of international leaders, chastising them for applauding her words as she sacrificed her childhood to tell them what they should already know. She's my personal favorite because she doesn't pull any punches. Her speeches literally call out the adults in the room for continuously failing to act on climate change as she and her peers, children, watch their future disappear. She advocates for justice on behalf of future generations who aren't even born yet. In a speech, she said, "If I live to be 100, I will be alive in the year 2103. When you think about the future today, you don't think beyond the year 2050. By then, I will, in the best case, not even have lived half my life. What happens next? In the year 2078, I will celebrate my 75th birthday. If I have children or grandchildren, maybe they will spend that day with me. Maybe they will ask me about you, the people who were around back in 2018. Maybe they will ask why you didn't do anything while there was still time to act. What we do or don't do right now, undo in the future." There's an entire book of just Greta's speeches from different environmental forums, and they all have similar messages. She says, "Adults keep saying, we owe it to the young people to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house is on fire, because it is." This past October, Greta Thunberg was in the headlines again. She and hundreds of other activists were on a flotilla of European aid ships headed to Gaza when they were intercepted by forces. Greta and her companions were kidnapped, imprisoned, abused, and humiliated before being deported. On her return home, she told the world of the abuses she and her fellow activists endured. She said, "When people fainted, we banged on the cages and asked for a doctor. Then the guards came and said, 'We're going to gas you.' It was standard for them to say that. They held up a gas cylinder and threatened to press it against us," she said. During the nights, guards regularly came by and shook the bars, shining flashlights several times a night. They came in and forced everyone to stand up. But still, her message was of justice for the Palestinian people. If Israel, with the whole world watching, can treat a well-known white person this way, just imagine what they do to Palestinians behind closed doors. Once considered a young hero advocating for the environment, now literally spat upon because she believes children shouldn't be starved to death. I could spend hours cherry-picking my favorite quotes from these three women, but it would take hours, and the depth of their messages really would not come through. And that's the thing with prophetic voices. You can't just flip through a book of inspirational sayings and call it a day. You need to understand the message in the context of their time. And what a better way to do that than by living during the time the messages are delivered. When we study the teachings of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and others, we contend with thousands of years of interpretation, mistranslation, and a loss of context. Luckily, there's always new wisdom being uncovered. As science discovers more about how our world works, and as our economic and political structures change, and our relationships with each other shift both individually and globally, and as new technology influences how we interact with each other and the natural world, there are new ideas and insights about the virtues and dangers of all of those aspects of life here on Earth. Learning from the teachings of ancient prophets is and always will be an important part of our spiritual development. After all, there are many timeless, universal truths about love, acceptance, and forgiveness that will always be relevant. And even prophetic voices from more recent history, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu, have messages that we still need to hear. But for members of a living tradition, a religious movement built around the constant search for truth and meaning, we have to look for the messages that are new and relevant to the unique problems of our time. Those voices that uncover the truths that we are afraid to face because they are a direct threat to our lives in this moment. The truths that are hard to see because they are intentionally covered up by power structures that find them a threat. Truths we are unaware of because our education system doesn't teach them. As it has always been, listen for the voices that people in power are trying to silence. A teenage girl advocating for the education of girls and women in an area under Taliban rule. Another teenage girl advocating for the radical economic restructuring needed to address climate change. An Indigenous woman urging us to change our agricultural model and heal our relationship with the earth. These messages, if heeded, will certainly lead us towards a better world, but they upset the structures of power in place today, so these women are silenced. Malala was shot by the Taliban. Greta kidnapped, humiliated, and imprisoned by the IDF. Robin has not been personally targeted in that way, but she speaks with an Indigenous voice to an audience indoctrinated to ignore Indigenous voices, and that's its own kind of silence. Who else is trying to speak out? What other voices are being silenced? And will we listen? Please stand as you are willing and able, and join us in singing hymn number 345, "With Joy We Claim the Growing Light." Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We can no longer let the people in power decide what is politically possible. We can no longer let the people in power decide what hope is. Hope is not passive. Hope is telling the truth. Hope is taking action. And hope always comes from the people. Greta Thunberg. Thank you all. Go in peace.